Good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good evening. Once again, this is Darlito Bernard Delizo, welcoming you back to this subject, law enforcement, organization, and administration. And if you have not subscribed yet, you are invited to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. And for this video, the discussion is focused on the Philippine Coast Guard and its functions insofar as law enforcement is concerned. So at the end of this lecture, the viewers and the learners are expected to be able to trace the development of the Philippine Coast Guard and to be able to define and identify the functions of the Philippine Coast Guard as well as to know the qualifications of becoming an enlisted and an officer of the Philippine Coast Guard. So for the background, during the Spanish time, there were no records of a Coast Guard in the country. What we have is a record coming from the insular government of the Americans when they occupied the country. So as stated by the Philippine Commission as enacted on October 17, 1901, there was a law created the Bureau of Coast Guard and Transportation, which was placed under the Department of Commerce and Police. So under siya ng Department of Commerce and Police. And then ang tawag sa kanya ay Bureau of Coast Guard and Transportation. And the captain of the port, they are referring actually doon sa Manila, yung pinaka-captain doon, siya ang na-designate na director ng Coast Guard. So that was on the early years of the Americans in the country in 1900s. And however, after some years, the Bureau of Coast Guard and Transportation was abolished, particularly on October 26, 1905. And nag-create sila ng panibago na Bureau of Navigation, which was then authorized to create a commissioned and enlisted service, meaning na-authorize sila na kumuha at mag-recruit ng mga uniformed members ng Bureau of Navigation. And they adopted their own manual of courts martial patterned after the U.S. Navy. However, again, the Bureau of Navigation was abolished again in December 19 of 1913, and the organization and the functions of it were transferred to the Bureau of Customs and the Bureau of Public Works until the Commonwealth period, meaning hanggang 1935 kasi yun ang Commonwealth period. So naging Bureau of Customs and Bureau of Public Works siya. And then by virtue of Republic Act 5173 and as amended by the Presidential Decree number 601, and that is the time of the late President Marcos, the Philippine Coast Guard was then a major unit of the Philippine Navy, meaning naging military yung Philippine Coast Guard under the Philippine Navy and of course side by side with the Philippine Marines. And however, that law gave the task to the PCG to preserve the maritime sovereignty over the islands. Pag sinabing maritime sovereignty, ibig sabihin niyan, walang ibang mga bansa na pwedeng mangisda or mag-explore or mag-develop sa ating bansa without the authority coming from the Philippine government. Okay, so hindi sila na-assign for, we call it, for defense purposes or for wartime, but rather to secure the maritime sovereignty of the country. Now, during the time of FBR or the former President Fidel B. Ramos, by virtue of Executive Order number 477, the Philippine Coast Guard obtained autonomy in its operations and became a civilian line function agency attached to the Department of Transportation and Communications. Okay, and even their responsibilities. So, what happened? Okay, so from the Philippine Navy, tinanggal siya, ginawa siyang civilian na line function pero uniform siya. So para siyang PNP. Yung PNP is a line unit of the or line agency of the DILG. Pero ang PNP ay autonomous insofar as the DILG is concerned. So ganun din ang Philippine Coast Guard, para siyang kalintulad ng PNP sa DILG. So yun ang kanyang naging setup. And in that particular executive order, the PCG now is the Maritime Law Enforcement Agency, and able to adequately and effectively respond in the performance of its mandated function. Meaning, in that particular executive order, nakikita na ang PCG ay magiging able-bodied agency and adequately and effectively na makapag-respond sa anumang bagay patungkol sa maritime laws natin or maritime sovereignty natin and maritime enforcement natin. So further, on September 2 of 2014, just recently, DOTC issued Department Order number 2014-010, restructuring the organization of the PCG to respond to its enhanced mandate, functions, and responsibilities. So, na-restructure sa at na-reorganize para mas magampanan niya yung kanyang mandate, no, at functions. Actually, dinagdagan pa yung kanyang mandate at saka yung functions and responsibilities ng Philippine Coast Guard, which we are going to discuss as we move on with this lecture. So what is now the mandate of the Philippine Coast Guard? Okay, of course, the DOTC is now the DOTR, as we have discussed in the earlier video. So the PCG is mandated to perform maritime search and rescue, maritime law enforcement, maritime safety, so kasama na yun yung mga nagbibiyahe, marine environmental protection against water pollution, air pollution, and the like, and maritime security. So ano naman yung mga basic or mga specific functions ng Philippine Coast Guard? First is the maritime safety, or what you call MARSAF function, which is designed to help prevent or minimize unnecessary loss of lives and properties at sea. So paano yan? So nagmo-monitor sila ng mga transportation facilities or mga tinatawag natin mga sea vessels na mga na involved sa transportation. Okay? And they are also responsible in issuing permits and supervises all marine salvage operations. When you say marine salvage operations, ito kapag may lumubog na barko, they are going to conduct salvage operation, meaning they are going to try to retrieve whatever they can retrieve doon sa mga na lumubog na mga barko. And they are mandated to destroy or tow floating hazards to navigation such as but not limited to illegal fish traps and vessels. Doon kasi sa gitna ng dagat may mga nilalagay silang mga fish traps, no, na malalaki yan. Okay? So kapag mga hazardous yan, meaning yan ay pwedeng mag-cause ng accident, okay, sa mga dumaraan na mga barko or mga marine vessels, ay yan ay kanilang sisirain or kanilang hihilain, no, para tanggalin upang hindi yan makapag-cause ng accident doon sa dagat. So what else? The maritime security. Ito yung constant patrolling nila. The Philippine Coast Guard contributes to maintain good order at sea by conducting regular patrols and surveillance for the safety of navigation of ships, to safeguard ships from illegal acts and to promote freedom of navigation. So if in case may mga tinatawag natin mga threats of hijack in the high seas or yung mga tinatawag nating mga pirata. So, yan ang trabaho din ng Philippine Coast Guard. Mag-monitor sila, mag-conduct ng surveillance para safe yung mga padaan ng mga barko sa ating karagatan. And likewise, the PCG is mandated to secure exploration and resource utilization activities within the country's maritime jurisdiction. As I have mentioned earlier, na kapag may gustong mag-explore sa atin, okay, at mag-utilize ng ating natural resources sa dagat, then sila ngayon ang tinatawag natin na may kumbaga merong authority to secure those things. Now, titignan nila whether they are properly permitted or they are properly licensed, and whether they are following the environmental laws covering the maritime environment. What else? They also conduct what you call the MARSAR or the Maritime Search and Rescue. Kaakibat nila or kasama nila dyan yung tinatawag nating Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary. Okay? And if ever may mga typhoons, okay, may mga lumubog na barko, sila ang primary na agency to conduct maritime search and rescue. In accordance with the Convention of Safety of Life at Sea or the SOLAS, isa yan sa mga training pag ikaw ay nag-maritime training, may tinatawag na SOLAS training, yung Safety of Life at Sea. The PCG is the National Maritime Search and Rescue Service of the country. And the PCG's Search and Rescue Organization maintains constantly manned watch centers that operate 24 hours a day, continuously monitoring distress frequencies. No? Pag may mga nagpapatulong, may mga narinig sila, then they will conduct coastal, foot, and seaborne patrol. Mayroon din kasi silang mga kanyan, may mga helicopter din sila, may mga uh, air patrol din mga yan. Okay? Then titignan nila kung may mga possible signs na mayroong lumulubog na barko or kinakailangan na mag-conduct ng search and rescue operation sa karagatan. Then of course, ito yung sa law enforcement, they are tasked to conduct maritime law enforcement or the MARLIN and implement laws on fisheries and poaching, immigration, tariff and customs, forestry, firearms and explosives, human trafficking, dangerous drugs and controlled chemicals, and to implement the revised penal code and all other applicable laws within the country's maritime jurisdiction and battle transnational crimes. Okay, so sila yun. Pag may mga possibilities na human trafficking, possibilities na mga drug trafficking or contrabands or illegal trafficking of products like forestry products and like that, no, na pumapasok sa ating bansa na tawag natin kasi pag may mga import yan, kailangan dadaan sa legal, sa mga port, sa seaport or sa airport, at dadaan yan sa Bureau of Customs para makapagbayad ng appropriate taxes. So, ang Coast Guard ang magbabantay niyan whether there are violators so that they can apprehend or prosecute or adjudicate or file the necessary charges, no? Or at least para masingil sila ng kanilang mga taxes. And it was mentioned a while back, one of their functions is the marine environmental protection. So paglilinis ng ating coastline, not only sa coastline, even sa mismong sa dagat, pag may mga spillovers na mga barko or mga other pollutions. Okay, so that is one of the primary functions of the Philippine Coast Guard. The Philippines is a signatory to the IMO conventions on the on maritime or on marine pollution of 1973 and the 1978 MARPOL 7378. Okay, the PCG under the Republic Act 993 is the sole agency responsible for the Philippine implementation of the conventions with regards to oil pollution prevention, mitigation, and control through the conduct of marine pollution monitoring and control, enhancement of Philippine Coast Guard capability and oil spill response operations, and enforcement of all marine environmental laws and regulations. So sila ang pinaka-primary agency for that matter. Okay, so para in case lang na may mga natawag natin na actuations or mayroong mga activities sa dagat na makakasira sa marine environment, ay sila ang nangunguna for the prevention, for the control, and for the mitigation of those hazardous activities. Now, you might be wondering how to join the Philippine Coast Guard and what are the requirements or qualifications. So depende yan, no? May mga specialized unit din mga yan. Okay, kung pupunta ka sa line operations nila, para siyang sa line operations din ng police. At meron din sila mga specialized and support units just like medical, no? Yung mga environmental group nila. So kailangan nila doon yung mga kurso na related sa environmental safety. Kapag sa medical courses nila, yung mga related sa medical science. So almost the same din sa armed forces at almost the same din sa Philippine National Police. But basically, should you wish to join the Philippine Coast Guard, ito yung mga qualifications. Say, if you would like to be enlisted, meaning non-officer ka. Okay? So you should be a natural born citizen of the Philippines of good moral character, and you should be at least 18 to 26 years old. So parang sundalo, 18 to 26 years old on the date of the examination. And you must be single, and the minimum height for male and female is 5 flat, 5 feet 0 inch. Okay? And then you should be physically and mentally qualified under the existing regulation for Coast Guard. Okay? Either you're a college graduate or you at least earned 72 units, okay, in only one course as reflected in the transcript of record. So say for example, wala ka ng pan-aral dahil na pandemic yung business ninyo, pinagkakakitaan, okay, na-Ulysses siya, binaha, at nakatapos ka na ng 2 years or 72 units sa yung course na criminology or nursing or education, you are qualified to apply. Or you are a graduate of the senior high school, provided that you have completed TESDA courses 6 months or longer. That is relevant to the Philippine Coast Guard mandate. Meaning, ito yung mga maaring mga makakatulong doon sa pag-perform ng Philippine Coast Guard ng mga TESDA courses. Okay, mga technical courses, so pwede yan. And then, parang sa military yan, meron din siyang aptitude battery test na tinatawag natin or yung IQ test. Now, if you're a college graduate and your rating in the board exam or the civil service exam professional is more than 82, I would rather advise you to join the Philippine Coast Guard as an officer. Okay? So para magiging Philippine Coast Guard ensign ka or meaning para kang police lieutenant doon. Okay? So at least you are 21 to 24 years old on the date of examination. So hindi niya sinabi diyan, okay? Hindi na nakalagay diyan kung 25, basta 21 to 24. And again, 5 flat. Kaya kayong mga underheight diyan, so pwedeng ito yung alternative ninyo. Okay? So I have a good number of former students who opted to join the Philippine Coast Guard as an officer actually. May mga iba nga galing sila sa Maritime Police eh. Mga patrolman sila. So nag-transfer sila sa Philippine Coast Guard bilang officer. Kasi pag officer ka dyan, at least para kahalintulad mo na dyan yung police lieutenant. Okay? So you are a holder of baccalaureate degree regardless of the course. Yun nga sinasabi ko, 82%. Kaya importante na pinagbubuti ang pag-aaral sa college hanggang sa mag-board exam. Kasi kapag naka 83, 84, 85 ka sa board exam, mas maganda yung dumiretso ka sa officer sa Philippine Coast Guard. And of course, mayroong tinatawag na aptitude battery test also for commissionship. Okay? So that is your Philippine Coast Guard insofar as law enforcement is concerned. To close this lecture, the word of the Lord says in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Okay? So, napakahalaga na anumang bagay ay pagkatiwala sa ating Panginoon, ang anumang plano natin sa buhay, and God said, siya'y nangako na gagawin niyang matuwid at maayos ang inyong daanan at ang ating daanan. Once again, thank you very much for watching and listening. If you have any comment, please feel free to write it down on the comment section. And if you have not subscribed yet, thank you for subscribing. Once again, good day, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. God bless you all.